Да? Вы проверяли? Слышно?
Скажи, чтобы все... А можете вы тоже сказать?
Ну, я себя слышу.
Я тоже не знаю. Вот этот не работает. Раз, работает, все. Так, давайте еще один микрофон оставлю для вас. Возьмите. Это работает? Они все должны работать. Наверное, докладчик. Да, докладчик лучше снимать наушники, а все остальные в любом случае в них сидят.
Good morning.
Скажите мистеру Хамелю, как пользоваться наушниками, пожалуйста.
Yes, yes, yes.
We have two channels. If language
Да, конечно. Кликер есть. Сейчас
Он был у меня, я положил доклад
вот, то есть кликер
модератору.
есть, направо-лево все работает.
Уважаемые дамы и господа,
Dear ladies and gentlemen,
я приветствую всех на открытии Дня энергетики в российском павильоне.
I'm pleased to see you all here in the Russian Pavilion within the framework of COP29.
И приглашаю к выступлению
And I welcome to say the introductory words, the first deputy of the Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation, Sorokin Pavel Yurievich.
Ирина Валерьевна, у нас Павел Юрьевич на связи, подключен.
Do we have Pavel Yurievich with us online? Can you hear us, Pavel Yurievich?
Коллеги, добрый день. Павел Юрьевич подключится с минуты на минуту.
Dear colleagues, Pavel Yurievich will be with us in just a few minutes.
Дамы и господа, сегодня также с нами
Ladies and gentlemen, we also have here today the deputy head of the Russian delegation, the representative of Rosgidromet. And we are waiting for Pavel Yurievich. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. I am pleased to see you all here at the Day of Energetics in the Russian Pavilion within the framework of the Conference of the Parties number 29. I am the coordinator of the aspects related with the climate agenda in Russian Federation, and I'm glad to see all of you here and your interest towards this topic. The development of the modern economy is impossible without energy resources. Russian Federation needs, because of its climate, needs heating and different resources. And our energetic complex provides our national security and is key to our system in our country. Russian energy industry is among the world leaders for producing relevant resources, and processing of energetic resources lead to greenhouse gas emissions. Russian sector emissions in the recent years make 1.6 billion CO2 tons. Today, climate agenda is one of the most important drivers of the global economy, and it is said in the Paris Agreement about the anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, which is imperative for development of the modern economy. The Russian Federation declared reaching a low carbon neutrality no later than 2060. We recognize responsibility for climate preservation, and we take all the necessary measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and preserve the environment, which is set in the Russian legislation. Today, representatives of Russian energy companies and different manufacturing and commercial partnerships will talk about preserving nature and combating climate change. Russian Federation is open to mutually beneficial cooperation with foreign partners, as you all understand, and we are glad to share our experience in such partnerships with all of you. Our events within the Day of Energetics will demonstrate the path of Russian energetics, which is moving towards more equality, more balance, and preserving climate and environment. I wish you all a very good day. Thank you very much.
Коллеги, Павел Юрьевич подключился?
Dear colleagues, is Pavel Yurievich with us? Please, you have the floor.
Да, коллеги, всех приветствую.
Dear colleagues, I'm glad to see you all.
Рад приветствовать всех на полях 29-й конференции Арктик
Within
ООН.
the framework of COP29. And I'd like to thank all of the participants for their interests towards this topic. Is it better to talk in English? In Russian? Okay. So I continue in Russian. Yes, and the climate topic is one of the most important topics in the agenda, in the world agenda. And we are glad to see the fact that during the past 2 years, this agenda has been converted towards more reasonable approach. If earlier everyone has been acting influenced by the climate hype, today we see that in many respects, owing to the efforts of reasonable politicians and reasonable countries, the dialogue takes a more constructive, more reasonable turn. And I'd like to thank the previous owners of COP28 and our Azerbaijani colleagues and the organizers, the host country of this COP29 for their reasonable approach. We understand, of course, that the global warming is continuing, and we together must fight not only with the consequences, but also with the reasons, with its reasons. But this fight must be reasonable, because only about 10% of emissions can be considered as anthropogenic. So even if we reduce them to zero, we will not reach the desired result. So we must fight not only the anthropogenic reasons, but take all the measures to reduce nature-induced emissions. And this is another task, a bigger task. But we must proceed with care to see that any measures which we discuss are economically sustainable, and that they have at their core the objective to bring to be beneficial to every country, to every population, and not to cause negative consequences for the economy. Russia has ambitious goals. We must reach climate neutrality before 2060, and we have developed all the necessary programs necessary for reaching this goal in an economically constructive and practical way, without extreme steps such as renouncing the use of fossil fuels and without unreasonable pressure on the economy from such events. Today, our companies, which have their representatives at this session, will talk about using such balanced strategies for reaching climate neutrality. So the goal set by our president will be reached, and we are glad that we are among countries which will go towards this goal in a way which will create the added value and will be beneficial for our nations. We also focus on compensatory measures, on recognizing positive effect from natural resources which we have. And one of the main point is increasing the energy efficiency. And this will also allow us to reduce emissions. And we are also focusing on modernizing the existing infrastructure, which will also allow us to reduce the emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, and also using any available climate technology where it is appropriate. So I'd like to wish you all a productive discussion, fruitful talks, and very positive results. I plan to fly to COP next week, and I hope I will meet many of you personally, and we will continue our work on the press release and on the long-term strategy for reaching our goals, counteracting climate change consequences. I open this session, and I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you, Pavel Yurievich. Transitioning smoothly to the issues of our session. Today in the Russian Federation, we finish the formulating of ecology strategy till 2050, and the conditions are quite complex, challenging, and how the adoption of such strategy will influence the climate goals of the Russian Federation, and how to preserve the balance between climate ambitions and energy safety. Thank you. Yes, the climate and ecological agenda is one of the components of our strategy. Besides climate sovereignty, we use three principles. First, the sufficiency and accessibility of the energy internally and for our external partners. A second principle is that we need to work on reaching climate neutrality, and the third principle, the climate efficiency of our measures. And when such principles intersect, this is our goal state within our strategy, climate strategy. As economic efficiency is the other component of our strategy, we consider that any project must take into account all the factors, all the above factors. And as regards oil, gas, coal, and electro energy, as regards these factors, we strive to increase energy efficiency, to reduce emissions, to increase the efficiency of the transport system by reducing energy leaks. And of course, we try to increase the use of renewable sources of energy without putting into prejudice other sources of energy. We see the role of the gas. We see the role of hydroenergetics, which can play its role in decarbonization, and we see also the possibility of using the clean coal, because we have many technologies and methodologies and techniques to provide the significant reduction of emissions from coal use, because it is an economically interesting source of energy, and we see its practicality for countries which have coal or can acquire coal from other countries. We see its practicality for them, and we recognize their right to use coal. And we think our strategy will become the most important document for the next years. Thank you. Yes, Russia is the most important player on the market, on the energy market, and we understand that reaching our goals is impossible without interaction with other countries. And now we have Hamel Muhammad with us.
Discussion about the increasing role of gas as a source of low-carbon energy for the future. We can consider, for example, issue of shifting coal-fixed power plants to gas, which can have a huge effect on reducing harmful emissions in the future. Could you please tell us what there is a forecast regarding the increasing role of gas in the world decarbonization?
Thank you very much. Well, I didn't have the translation, sorry for that. First of all, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the outset, I would like to express my appreciation for the invitation to deliver a keynote speech at the Russian Federation Pavilion. Russia is a founding member of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, and Russia plays an active role in the forum. Furthermore, Russia is an energy superpower. As we gather at COP29, held in the GECF member country, Azerbaijan, we are, by the way, proud that the last 3 COPs were held in GECF member countries, Egypt, the UAE, and now Azerbaijan. So as we gather at COP29, it is only natural that climate change takes center stage. Yet from our perspective, any meaningful dialogue on climate must also embrace the 3 pillars of sustainable development: economic growth, social progress, and the protection of the environment. In 2015, the international community achieved 2 landmark milestones: the adoption of the Paris Agreement and the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Both agreements hold, from our perspective, equal importance, each setting forth objectives that are critical to global progress. And the past few years have underscored that energy is indeed the lifeblood of modern economies, bringing energy security to the forefront of policy making. This highlights the necessity of balancing security, affordability, and sustainability in energy transformations and evolutions. Today, what I propose and my argument is that addressing the energy trilemma and achieving both the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement's long-term goals will require leveraging every viable energy source and every viable technology at our disposal. There is no one-size-fits-all model. Rather, energy pathway must be tailored to each nation's unique circumstances, capacities, and priorities, with international cooperation serving as an indispensable enabler. To ensure that energy transitions are equitable, orderly, and economically viable, we must prioritize approaches that encourage widespread adoption and long-term sustainability. As you know, the global energy system is vast and rather complex, having been developed and optimized over more than 2 centuries. It delivers the energy which is equivalent to 3,500 barrels of oil every second in the blink of an eye. Yet, despite this scale, 2.3 billion people still lack access to clean fuels for cooking, and 700 million are without reliable electricity. So transforming such an extensive system will require considerable time and enormous financial resources. This task is made even more complex and challenging by the reality that global energy demand will only continue to grow. According to the GECF forecast, primary energy demand is set to expand by 20% by 2050, driven by a rising population, 1.7 billion people additional by 2050, 95% of whom are in developing countries, the doubling of the economic size, the global economy size, and also the pursuit of the improved living standards. The demand may also be even bigger given now the additional demand from artificial intelligence data center, or as we see, the switch to LNG trucks in Asia. At the same time, the world calls for cleaner air, reduced indoor pollution, and fewer greenhouse gas emissions. And this brings the central question: how do we meet growing energy needs while safeguarding our environment? And one compelling answer to our energy and environmental challenge is natural gas. As the least carbon-intensive hydrocarbon, natural gas offers a cleaner, affordable, versatile, flexible, and reliable energy source. In power generation, switching from coal to natural gas can nearly halve CO2 emissions and eliminate pollutants and particulates, significantly improving air quality and public health, particularly in pollution-prone urban areas. For household, liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, provides a cleaner option than biomass for cooking and heating, reducing deforestation and enhancing indoor air quality with life-saving and economic benefits, especially for women and children. Natural gas also complements renewables by providing backup and stability to power grids that are dependent on variable and intermittent renewables, such as solar and wind, and also hydro in periods of drought. Natural gas is also critical to producing fertilizers that increase crop yields, enhancing food security, and alleviating hunger. Moreover, it supplies key materials like plastics and pharmaceuticals, vital for industrial growth and healthcare. Our forecasts indicate that natural gas demand will increase by 34% by 2050, with its share rising from 23% today to 26% in 2050. The cumulative investment required in upstream and midstream sectors to meet this growing gas demand is projected to exceed $9 trillion. Ensuring security of supply hinges on timely and adequate investments. We do not support the view expressed by a Paris-based organization that we should no longer invest in oil and gas. This is misguided for an industry where natural decline rate exceeds 4% per annum. Calls to halt investing in natural gas threaten future security of supply and economic growth. Security of demand is equally critical. A stable and predictable demand over the long term enables producers to plan their operations and investment effectively. This security of demand also entails continued access to markets and financing, as well as economic, regulatory, trade, and contractual stability. In this connection, the Algiers Declaration, adopted by the 7th GECF Summit of Heads of State and Government, expressed their rejection of unilateral economic restrictions, trade distortive measures, and politically driven intervention in price discovery and risk management functions of markets. Ladies and gentlemen, my last point is about the space of technology. While natural gas is already a cleaner energy, technological advancements are further reducing the environmental impact. Carbon capture, utilization, and storage, along with gas flaring reduction, methane abatement, make it possible to minimize emissions throughout the life cycle of natural gas. With CCUS, industries capture emissions at the source, preventing them from reaching the atmosphere, while methane abatement addresses leaks that could otherwise contribute to climate change. Furthermore, blue hydrogen, which is a hydrogen produced from natural gas, offers another way to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries like steel and cement. These advancements position natural gas not merely as a transitional fuel, but a versatile component with a low-carbon economy addressing both immediate and long-term energy needs. It's more than just a transitional fuel, it is a destination fuel. And recognizing the importance of technological collaboration, the GECF member countries have established the Gas Research Institute in Algiers, and it was inaugurated in February of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for your kind invitation, and I wish you a productive panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hama. Как справедливо упомянул господин Хамель в начале своего выступления, что
As Mr. Hamil truthfully said at the beginning of his speech, the Sustainable Development Goals of the technology and energy sector include many aspects, and the collaboration between the countries is one of the issues which we would like to consider today. Today we have the special representative of the president in working with different organizations as regards sustainable development. Please tell us about this cooperation and how to take into account all the aspects related to balance between climate agenda and energy safety. Good morning. The President entrusted me with the responsibility to take care about all the aspects of the climate agenda. Energy is a very important component, but other goals are very important too. For example, the Sustainable Development Goal is 7, providing equal access to the energy. I am now studying such aspects, and we are creating a database, and figures speak for themselves. Till 2050, according to US Energy Agency, using of all the energy sources will increase in 50%. And every North American inhabitant was consuming more than 3 gigajoules of energy. It is very unequal considering the comparison with other regions, including Africa. But everyone will develop. On the one hand, the developing countries which plan higher developing rates than the developed countries, we foresee the energy consumption increase in such developing countries, but it is not there where we expect the greatest growth. But using AI, which increases energy consumption for making computer calculations, creates a new energy consumer, which becomes one of the biggest in the world economy. Data processing centers, as regards energy consumption today, we expect that the energy consumption will triple. Where we will take the energy from? USA has already thousands of data processing centers, and experts say that using AI will lead to a 160% increase in energy consumption. What we want in this relation, the equal transition, we cannot we cannot stop the progress. Goals SDG 7 and 13 must be balanced, and we cannot lose this big trend as regards reducing emissions, first of all CO2, because humanity already have gone a long way, and there are big systems created as of today. At COP29 we can see many events which are not seen at any other World Summit, and we cannot renounce that. Of course, anthropogenic emissions, which make only a small part of the total of CO2 emissions, they are nevertheless the last piece which changes the balance. And we believe that we must follow this, continue to follow this path. And my opinion is aligned with the opinion of Ministry of Energetics. We need a more pragmatic approach. And as the previous speaker told us about the natural gas, it is one of the most important decisions. We must not renounce the natural gas, not for it to be not only a transitional fuel, but a destination fuel. And of course, we must not renounce the renewable energy sources. Russia have gone a long way already. Of course, we are behind China yet, but we recently met the association which develops renewable energy sources, and we already see that it is already economically beneficial, this direction of activity. And this sector can represent a real economic interest, and then it will be actively developed in Russia. Today, I know that in BRICS there are discussions about just transition concept, and it will be talked about here at COP29, and we all must follow the discussions and accept this concept. We discuss such issues with many countries regarding all of the SDGs, and I'd like to congratulate my Azerbaijani colleagues for their progress as regards carbon markets. And we all hope that this system will work in the world. And on this basis, we developed voluntary and mandatory carbon markets. So please follow the discussions and the formulating of the concept of equal just transition. And we are discussing these issues with other countries, including BRICS countries. I think we must start there, prepare common agenda, common position, and then to try to develop it for the whole world. Thank you. Yes, as you rightly said, yes, AI plays a great role in the energy transition sector, and China has a monopoly more than 80% in the sector of renewable sources of energy, but as regards our natural gas, it's the most clean fuel source as of today. And I'd like to ask Gennady Yuryevich, the representative of Gazprom, how do you see the goals set last year about just transition? How do you see the role of natural gas in this area? How can we use the advantages in this field?
Да, добрый день, уважаемые коллеги.
Good day,
Ну, прежде чем
dear colleagues. Before I answer the question about energy transition, let me make a short presentation about the role of Russian gas industry, about its contribution to the global energy security. For decades, every attention is directed towards climate change, but only in the recent years we see that there is another issue which becomes more and more important. It's an energy security issue. That's why in my report I'd like to tell you about the Russian gas industry contribution to the global energy security under conditions of different climate challenges. But first of all, let's take a look at the global fuel energy balance. As we see, till 2050, the demand for energy will increase as a result of economic development about 20%. And we expect significant changes in the structure of the global energy balance. We expect the reduction in the role of oil and coal, but the natural gas share will increase and other sources of energy. So by 2050, the fuel leaders in the whole energy structure in the world will be natural gas and oil. They will provide a quarter of the world energy balance. Let's see what happens with the oil, with the gas industry, and what will happen by 2050. The gas demand will grow more than global demand for energy, and it will be between 30 and 50%. Demand in the whole world will grow not equally in different regions. The main drivers will be Asia and Pacific, but the demand for gas will grow almost everywhere except Europe and North America. And as a result of regulatory restrictions in recent years, we expect decrease for natural gas demand in Europe, a further decrease, regardless of the increase in gas demand in this region before. As I said, the reduction in gas demand is a result of regulatory limitations. It is connected with the Repower EU program, which has as a goal to renounce from using Russian natural gas. And now, as a process in Europe, we see the consequences for residents of EU as reduction staff on particular enterprises, reduction in particular production output, and relocation of some enterprises from Europe to other regions. On this slide, you see the companies most impacted by EU energy policy.
Во многом в результате
In most respects, as a result of regulatory activity, we see an increase in dependence of Europe from USA, which USA recently increased their presence on the European gas market. And here I'd like to show you the US influence on the European gas market in the form of a pyramid. On the first level, if a number of European companies will support my view, the contracts on natural gas supplies are not met, the gas is not being delivered, and the amount of such contracts is assessed as tens of billions of dollars. Next, second level, first of all, it includes China. And as regards influence on China, we saw as heads of American companies said that China can be left without natural gas supplies to its market. The third level of this pyramid is the decision of US government to suspend issuing licenses for export, which became a restrictive factor for making final investment decisions related to a number of American liquefied natural gas projects, and which also influenced consumers in other countries of the world. So we see some contradictory aspects in this energy pressure from US on main importers, which on one hand found its expression in critics towards Russia in connection with its supplies. And on the other hand, as we see on level 4, Americans can at any moment suspend the implementation of their export supplies, citing issues connected with their energy security. Another country leader in terms of economic growth, China continues work as regards greening its economy. We heard a lot about China from previous speakers. I'd like to confirm their words with the graph presented on the right. In 2023, more than a third of green economy energy processing plants are installed in China, but it does not negatively influence the development of gas consumption in China. And we saw in recent years the doubling of gas consumption in China. So it means that working on programs related to reduction ecological impact and reduction emissions and other negative factors, China at the same time increases natural gas import and natural gas consumption. And here we see pragmatic and practical collaboration with Russia and Gazprom. From our part, we develop our activity in the east of the country. This activity has as a goal to provide uninterrupted supplies to China and also to consumers in the Russian Federation. Implementing project The Strength of Siberia, we provide reliable supplies to China, And recently, we more than once provided the planned supplies as indicated in the contracts. And in September this year, we signed an additional agreement with our Chinese partners for going to bigger daily amounts as regards supplies to China.
This is a good example of that the Russian coal is in high demand in China's market. From our point of view, from our position, we go on supplying gas to Russian users. Traditionally, it was not the main source of supply, but now we would like to solve not only social economic goals, but also climate ones for the inhabitants in the Siberian forest. We also go very reliably to achieve 100% of gas distribution by 2030. And separately, I would like to point out that we supplant coal, energy stations and enterprises, and if we talk about energy generation, and as a result of this supplant of coal by gas, we can see we can see very positive figures. Also, I would like to point out our active work we're carrying out now in our country with the support of our company as of the use of gas in transport. And this is also aimed at climate situation improvement in big cities and as a whole in transport sector. And we have a large resource database and resources. We are the company number one as a company having large resources. And we prove our words by actions. Everybody knows that Gazprom controls the largest gas transport system in the world. And I would like to say a few words about the transportation of natural gas to the enterprises producing tubings in Russian Federation. We register here brilliant success, progress. We now have here the production of tubings of 1,420 millimeters, and this allows us to decrease the cost of gas transportation. This is a very beneficial economic indicator, and also this helps us to conduct our work with Russian companies to produce new turbines, IL, which also provide a decrease in the cost of gas transportation, and as a result we have less emissions. Every year our company pays special attention to repair work of mobile stations, and my colleague, Professor Ishkov, will say a few words in detail about that. And to finalize, I would like to underline that we can see that Russian natural gas is at that moment in high demand. This is an energy source which will show very high demand,
Соответственно, Россия вносит
and this
достаточно
will
существенный
be
вклад в
observed
обеспечение мировой
as a whole in the
энергетической
world.
безопасности,
So
подтверждение
Russia
своих слов.
makes an
Хотел
important
отметить, что
input
по итогам
to the energy
2023
markets of
года
the
мы
world,
обеспечили
and as according to the
страна
results of
покрытие
2023,
15% мирового спроса на природный газ.
we
Соответственно, использование
supplied
природного газа оказывает
15%
достаточно
of
благоприятное
natural
влияние
gas in the world.
как
So
в
this is
России,
a
так и за рубежом,
beneficial
как не только
indicator in
социально-экономическое
Russia and
развитие,
abroad.
но также
Not
и на
only this is
показатели
good
в
for
области
social development and economic development,
климатических
but
целей.
also for the
Отдельно хотел
development of
обратить
climate
ваше внимание на
goals.
то, что
I would like
природный
to draw
газ
your
позволяет
attention also to the
достаточно
fact that the natural
эффективно,
gas
может быть, наиболее эффективно
allows
производить продукты, которые сейчас находятся
to
на слуху.
produce in a
Это
very efficient
газоподъемные,
way
это
many
аммиак и
products
водород.
which are
В
now,
таких
we talk
условиях,
about
в условиях
hydrogen and
очевидного
ammonia.
понимания
In these
необходимости и
conditions
важности природного газа для
and
обеспечения
situation, we can see
достижения высоких
very
климатических
high
целей, мы
demand, importance,
продолжаем
and efficiency
работу
of
в
gas.
России, направленную
And
на
we
обеспечение энергетической
continue our
безопасности
work
как
in
нашей
Russia
страны, так и
as
наших партнеров.
regards
Благодарю вас за внимание.
ensuring energy
Отвечая на ваш вопрос
security
по
in our
поводу
country and abroad.
энергетического
Thank you very
перехода,
much. And
хотел сказать,
in
что
reply to your question, as
на отдельные
regards
аспекты
energy
выделяют
transition
4 к
transfer,
настоящему моменту этапа
experts
энергетического
point out
перехода. Это
four
первый был от
phases of energy
биоресурсов,
transfer.
соответственно, от дров к
First
углю,
of all,
потом,
these
соответственно,
are
от угля,
biology,
соответственно, к нефти,
biofuel.
потом от нефти к газу. Сейчас
Next,
некоторые эксперты
from
говорят о
oil to
переходе
gas.
от
Now
газа к
experts talk
возобновляемым
about
источникам энергии.
transfer from
Но
gas
на
to
практике, если
renewable
посмотреть
energy
достаточно длинную
sources. But
ретроспективу,
in
мы
what
видим,
can we
что
see in
каждый из
practice,
этапов
in
энергетического
retrospective
перехода
way? Every phase of this
характеризовался
energy
не отказом
transfer
от
was
использования
characterized not by
доминирующего
the
в
refuse
прошлом
of
энергоресурса, а
dominant
наряду
energy
с ростом
source,
нового энергоресурса,
but
сохранением
by
тенденции по
combining
росту
different trends.
предшествующего доминирующего ресурса. Таким образом, мы ожидаем
So
сохранения сформировавшейся на протяжении многих
we can
десятилетий
expect
тенденции
the
по росту спроса на
preservance
природный газ,
of
как я сказал, темпами
old
выше,
trends as of
чем спрос на
natural
энергию в
gas
целом.
demand.
И считаем,
And
что
at
газ
the same
действительно
time, we
является
think that
оптимальным
the
и
gas
целевым
is
ресурсом, который призван
the
внести
best
свой весомый вклад в
target
достижение
energy source
климатических целей.
which will make its input in climate goal achieving. You had a very interesting slide where you showed companies which suffered in 2022 as a result of energy crisis. And I think our Russian business successfully overcame all those barriers, and moreover, all those events took place at the same time with the climate agenda adoption, and our business, as a result, had to adapt itself to a series of problems and at the same time to the climate agenda. And and I would like to give the floor to our next speaker. Please say a few words about the aspects which are of interest to the representative of Russian business while implementing climate agenda in the conditions of modern climate agenda implementation. Can you hear me? Thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear guests. I am very pleased to see you all in this Russian pavilion, and I can remember the same condition at COP in Glasgow. Last speakers were present then, and this event was of little interest then, because they had no interest in Russian energy in the context of world global energy transfer. We had such a feeling, but last year shows that Russian energy system has very powerful positions, and now today's event is of much greater interest. at this COP. And I would like to cite one example from electrical energy sector. This is not a very bright example, this is a common example, but we can talk about conditions and problems of our business. No sound coming to the interpreter at this moment. Unfortunately, the interpreters receive no audio feed. So, in the context of this understanding of our situation, we had very big progress during recent times, combining the efforts of the representatives of our scientists, of our regulators, companies, and the first project of climatically active products monitoring was implementing, including in the sector of electrical energy. We had more precise calculations, and as a result, we had significant reduce of emissions indicators. This is very important in the context of the increase of energy consumption indicators which can be observed in Russia these recent years. And this year in Russia, we will have an increase of about 5% as compared to the last years. In the Far East, we expect this increase by 10% of energy consumption, and we expect, we think that these rates will be very high during the next years. And we have a lot of factors influencing the situation. The lifestyle and the life level of people increase, and we have a lot of structural changes in our economy. I speak about the electrification of all processes in this situation. For example, in Siberian Far East, this means the electrification of Amur-Baikal roads, and this means increase in energy consumption. Also, these rates can increase as a result of the increase of the share of electrical transports. We have all other factors, for example, air conditioning as a result of global warming in Russia. This is observed very clearly. Our population have a lot of money, and now they can afford themselves buying such appliances as air conditioning. I will not give you more details, as for example, saying about artificial intelligence and other energy consuming gadgets, appliances, equipment. As a result, we think that during 10 years, energy consumption will increase by 25% in our country. This is a very big figure, and this will increase GHG emissions in energy sector, electrical energy sector. But we have benefits that I refer to low carbon sector of Russia. We can speak about 85% of sector low carbon technologies. Also, we are developing the sector of climate certificates, but despite all those facts, in the nearest 5-10 years, the emissions will be increased no less than 60,000 CO2 RTE. What shall we do with all those things? Do we have a chance to put an end of this in this correlation? Yes, we have a chance and we have a good example. During the first 10 years of 20th century, we had very high rates of increase in energy consumptions, but the situation was very positive. That was connected with the fact that we had a lot of opportunities at this beginning of the 20th century. We introduced very dull engineering solutions, but this potential is no more available now. Today, we need to put a bridge between different climate initiatives, solutions which would be affordable as per price and would contribute to emissions decrease. And if we will do that by high cost technologies, that will give no good results. No decrease of emissions will be obtained. For example, there are certain finances which could be spent by the population to allow us decarbonization. These finances can be different. That depends on our situation at external markets. The higher inflation, we think that this increase +1 to the rates of inflation is justifiable, and it can be achieved as regards the expenses of economic entities, but no more. And we think that this additional finances for decarbonization processes can be realized within the economy. We need to find relevant projects, relevant technologies, technological characteristics, how we can supplant old technologies by the new ones, how we can supplant different energy sources, and so that we can come finally to affordable figures for our economy. At this, we have a high number of climate projects from 10 to 20 dollars per TCO2 equivalent. And we have different ones, more expensive. And in this context, we can use such infrastructure in the energy and electrical energy sector. And all those discussions about carbon markets, which are being carried out within COPs, including within COP 29, they are not abstract ones for our business. We told about new progress achieved at COP 29 within the framework of the Article 6.4 of Paris Agreement. But here we have a lot to do, and I think the path is long forward, and I hope that this path will be reasonable, economically reasonable. I expect to achieve such results. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sergei Anatolievich. Yes, indeed, the question of climate projects for our energy balance is very important for our country, for all countries. We talked about agreement concluded between Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, and in this declaration they talked about climate green projects, and in our country we also have leaders. For example, Rosgidro company in the sphere, leading the sphere of low carbon projects, and I would like to give the floor to the director, Mr. Chechen. How can we decrease our carbon footprint in the context of this green balance, and what events does your company introduce in this direction? What are your plans? Please, you have the floor. Good day. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Good day, dear friends, dear colleagues. We have no more Boris Ivanovich with us, but I would like to start with a few critical words. We compare us very often with Europe, with China. Why? I cannot understand that. We have a very independent energy sector, as Sergei told us. We have a unique green balance structure for our energy sector in gas, in oil. We have more or less 20% of nuclear generation, hydro generation, and about 5% of gas generation. That's all. So the rest, this is not complicated to be supplanted, to transfer our energy to green rails. A few words about our company. We changed our presentation for this COP29 because we have very interesting figures on this slide. Besides our energy generation entities, as you can see, we have hydro and classical thermal gas entities of generation. We also have wind and solar energy generation entities. And as per these sources, we presented relevant figures. We are a unique company in the world. There are no more companies like ours in the world. So we have 59 dams which we explore. We have 28,000 kilometers of territory being used and 218,000 kilometers of our territory. Why I talk about all those figures? We had different scenarios, but in this scheme we have 9 hydro energy generation entities of 5.2 gigawatts generation. And I would like to point out 2 stations of about 100 megawatts, but they have a large history and very good technologies as how to manage wind spring inundations and so we can defend our economy from catastrophes. So climate effect as a result of the construction of Nizhny Nazilsk hydro station is a big one as regards the emission decrease. We can talk about 960 tons of emissions capture per year. And we have another effect, the effect from burning, liquid and solid fuel burning. And here we also have very positive indicators. And hydro accumulating stations also show very positive results as how we can regulate the reliability and resilience of our energy systems. So those entities I referred to are very important elements how we can achieve carbon neutrality. During recent years, we increased our potential in the world. In our country, we have 33 projects present in 17 countries. We have a lot of contracts abroad. And today, we have also a series of projects as regards nuclear power projects. We take place in many projects, nuclear projects as regards water supply. So 25% of our capex is present here. This is a very important element. What can I add else? We're moving towards achieving sustainable development goals. Today we have 17 SDGs, and we are doing something in order to achieve them every day. I took the floor at the UN headquarters in Geneva one day, and I pointed out how we can achieve in an affordable, technological way the process of achieving sustainable development goals. We have all available technologies, and we can make them affordable to everybody. I agree with our moderator. Yes, indeed, we have a very green energy sector, but also we need to talk here about wind and solar energy, thermal, classical energy. And in global format, this is well recognized. We have no other variants here. A few words about hydrogen. Hydrogen energy, gas and coal are energy sources in order to transfer to green and gray hydrogen. We have green hydrogen, and we can install, for example, electrolyzer equipment in our entities and obtain this kind of hydrogen. And as a result of climate projects, we can also boast, as we were the first in the country who registered and implemented, together with our Gazprom colleagues, the first Russian climate projects in our country, and we achieved great results as regards CO2 emissions decrease. So, in this way, by moving our energy generation to gas in our 6 entities, we will achieve our indicated as of CO2 emissions decrease. And this is our result of our work done, what we had and what we have now. And now a few words about what position we have as of 2 sectors, as of CO2 absorption at our entities. During recent years, we have been observing these processes. We observed in these processes in 9 dams, and during life cycle of our entities, we capture about 9.5 million tons CO2 per year. Also, we can talk about absorption of CO2 in our bed layers. So biofuel will be the next goal. We have criteria of sustainable development, 367 in total. This is a classical scheme of criteria distribution. Today, this is our constant element of our work. Also, we think about becoming the largest actor as regards electric charging stations supplier in the direction of from Vladivostok to Kaliningrad and then to Moscow. We have about 319 such electric charging stations today, and we will achieve good results as of CO2 emissions decrease. We also use hydro charging stations, and we have special plans for Kamchatka regions, but that means a lot for isolated regions such as Kamchatka, and for making greener our balance for our binary blocks as regards energy supply for the inhabitants of these regions. And to finalize, I would like to say a few words that this year we signed the first public offer as for the supply of carbon units, which were sold at Russian market, and these carbon markets were registered in National Russian Register. This is a small but a very important achievement. And a few words about modernizing our very old energy generation entities. I refer to Yakutia and Chukotka regions. These entities date from Soviet period. Now we're trying to purify, to modernize these objects. We are aiming at the fourth generation, the most modern one, but we exploit all our experience to be shared with our colleagues via transfer of our stations to the gas generation, which decrease such anthropogenic impact. And you can see a series of countries where we expect to sign special contracts. Thank you very much. Sorry for having taken so much of your time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sergey. That's a rare case when I didn't stop our speaker. And to continue this topic, we understand that nuclear power plays a very important role in this direction. And in final declaration of the COP last year, it was also recognized. Is this enough? And can we achieve climate goals only by carbon neutral means? So Polina Leon has the floor from Rosatom Energy. What is your vision? How are you going to develop your projects in nuclear power energy sector? Please say a few words about national and international goals. Thank you very much. Good day, dear colleagues. Yes, indeed. We all understand that clean green energy refers not only to VIA, but also to low-carbon nuclear power, nuclear energy, because we have no direct CO2 emissions. As our classical pure renewable energy sources. So here nuclear power can be compared to wind energy. So historically nuclear energy was not included as baseline energy sources for our transfer to RES. And not only at COP28, but starting from the COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, nuclear power was present in final documents. And if in Sharm el-Sheikh a final resolution, instead of formulas such as renewable energy sources, used low emission sources, which is a larger one. So here we speak not only about green energy sources, but also about clean energy sources. So in Egypt, we had already low emissions energy, meaning that include only nuclear energy. At COP28, we had also a formula about low emissions sources, and I hope this year we will also have such an emissions which will be transferred from year to year declarations. We will consider nuclear energy as one of low emission sources for this period of energy transfer. In Russia, we didn't have to do a lot to recognize such work, because our country understands that without energy, nuclear energy, we won't be able to do a lot, because nuclear and hydro energy is the baseline of our green, clean energy sources. But to answer your question, according to our position, we think that there cannot be unilateral approach to nuclear energy, so that we can achieve our declared climate goals. We all understand that climate agenda is not only words, it's not only discussion. This means climate accounting, climate markets, climate financing, climate instruments. That's why any low emissions climate technology needs to be introduced into climate regulating agenda. So today Rosatom and all our community works towards the next step. So after recognizing nuclear energy as one of the key low emission sources, we understand that the next step will be to move to the work with national and international regulators. We work in a very efficient way with the government of the Russian Federation, not only because Rosatom is a global company and we are present in many countries at international level, and we take part in the construction of new nuclear power stations in many countries. So for us, it's very important to discuss all those climate green instruments and how we can include into them nuclear instruments, technologies. And in our country, we have very good rhetorics, and in other countries, for example, in Turkey or in Uzbekistan, situation may be a bit different. Today, I would like to say a few words very quickly. That's no secret that nuclear energy today is very well integrated in our country into regulating green financing. First of all, we talk about taxonomies, green taxonomies, a series of documents regulating different types of activities according to their input into energy efficiency as of climate goals achieving. Rosatom takes part and is registered in taxonomies in many countries of the world. Today, we're expecting that the banking sector pays attention to the implementation of all those taxonomies activities. So we expect banking sector to take a more active position in providing green financing, perhaps not for large nuclear stations, because they require large amounts of financing. But going back, as Sergei told us, nuclear energy is quite low emission, quite low energy source. But if we talk about the construction of a nuclear power station, we need a lot of finance funds for that goal. But we can talk about small-scale nuclear power stations. They are quite attractive as of climate and finance parameters. So I think that taxonomies will be applied by banking sector. Also, we are working here on a certificate issue of low emission origin. In Russia this year, we have national space for so-called green certificates trade. And thanks to Russian Federation regulators, nuclear power was included in this register. And so our companies can have a possibility to buy such certificate to compensate, to offset their carbon footprint. But as a result, in fact, Russia is a pioneer in this sphere, because we have here nuclear certificates. And here we have a space to move forward together with our partner countries. They can have a look if this new instrument is an efficient one. And I would like to remind that in 2021, Russia was the first country who included nuclear energy into its taxonomies. So we have a lot of opportunities which we seize. We have the first contracts as regards purchase of such certificates, and we hope that in the next years at international level such certificate will be also available, but we need certain regulatory efforts to be taken at different national levels in different countries. We talked a lot about carbon units trade at different markets. In Russia, we also have such a market in Sakhalin. There is a voluntary market of this sort, but in this sphere, unfortunately, in Russia and in other countries, nuclear energy cannot take part in such markets. And all other renewable energy sources can have such a possibility. Then they can buy such carbon units to offset their carbon footprint, to activate clearly their input into low carbon economy. So, as a matter of fact, we're thinking now how now we can implement from our part such nuclear power projects to take part, for example, take part in such carbon units trade, for example, at the level of small-scale nuclear power stations, and so that we can make our input into low-emission sources agenda. Thank you very much, Polina. Indeed, nuclear power has a good position in the sphere of the achieving of energy resilience and safety, as Polina told us, and we think that in the nearest future this will be a real instrument in the sphere of low emissions sector in our country and abroad, and I think it will be one more benefit for our partners to make our balance greener. We talk a lot about that today. The role of nuclear power cannot be underestimated in this sphere. But coming back to the topic of hydrogen, we all understand that without good transfer from from carbon to REC, we cannot supply this matter.
Today we have the president of Association of Energy Aspects, Vyazev, Mr. Vyazev, and it also works at international level and takes part in different sessions of relevant organs. Please tell us about how in the system of your organization, what is the attitude about transformations in the energy sector, and what is the role for carbohydrates, and how do you consider it taking into account the national strategies and plans regarding our climate goals as a state? Thank you very much. Today, we heard some brilliant speakers, and I think I will repeat some of the aspects. I will talk about gas, because I am an eminent worker of the gas industry, and I am working on the project Prorыв since the year 2000. And first of all, yesterday we, with Vasily Petrovich Centurin, were at the panel where Guterres participated, dedicated to energy materials. It's a very complex issue, and critical materials have no classification, international classification. For us, it is rare earth minerals. In some parts of the world, nickel and other substances are included into this classification, but we must also think about energy transition. We are now at the fourth stage, and here you see different four stages of energy transition. And as we saw, when passing from one stage to the other, we haven't ceased using previous sources of energy. Here we have data about using coal, gas, and oil in different regions of the world, and also in the BRICS countries. Now, in 2022, 82% of energy sources were carbon and oil, and it will be so for decades ahead. And here we have data about using oil, gas, and coal in China, Russia, USA, Australia, and other countries. We are on the second place behind USA, and regardless of our CO2 emissions, we, Iran, and Qatar, we are the leading players as regards the gas market and gas resources. Here we have a bar chart about gas resources, and here is the structure of the energy being produced and consumed for 2022. 14.43 billion of equivalent. These 4.8 billions is the coal. The gas takes the major part, 54.6, and next the oil, and next the coal. And today a smaller part is occupied, smaller share is occupied by renewable energy sources. Here we see the growth in the regions, how the energy is produced and consumed. the Middle East, Asia and Pacific are developing very rapidly at a different pace, and the world as a whole, the red line. Here we see the scenario of the electricity consumption in the world in the billion tons in oil equivalent, and we will have more than 40 billion tons in oil equivalent by 2100. And as my colleague said, it is difficult to plan for future, but the energy efficient scenario of energy sector development gives us, as I said, more than 40 billion tons. It is about 1 billion for 10 years. Previously, it was 1 billion in a century. Today, it makes 1 billion in a decade. Now I will talk about this topic. I will go back to the climate topic. As I think that Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement are not supported by any figures. They are just imaginative, and they are oriented to meet the goals of Anglo-Saxon countries. So a reduction by 2050, we will not have zero carbon emissions in the world by 2050. Now we see the temperature increase 0.175 by a year in the world. By 2050, it will be 2 degrees increase. Now, before the processes took decades, centuries, but now they are talking about carbon neutrality by in just a few decades, and we cannot achieve all of that using only RES and even hydropower and nuclear power. Now, solar and hydro and wind power, their share is only 14%. It will increase, of course, but the consumption will increase too, so it will not substitute for fossil fuels and other sources, non-ecological sources of energy. So our president approved our ecology strategy for a reason. Population must be ready for new challenges, for new problems related to climate change. And yesterday at the Guterres session, they were talking about such problems. So we need to decide to tighten our belts today and make it better for future generations, or maybe we have some other scenarios. And there is also the global conflict of interests. Here we see the energy scenario for 2100, 2200. We will go to managed, controlled thermonuclear synthesis by about 2100, and we will use more hydropower energy and traditional RES. We are behind China, Germany, and some other countries in using oil gas chemistry. And I'd like to say sorry to Polina. I'd like to talk about closed cycles of nuclear energy. Here we see the energy industry energy complex of the fourth generation, which is being created now. Vladimir Putin presented the new model of Russian economy using closed cycles, which is oriented at economic competitivity, independence of the resource base of nature, uranium, and also reducing the danger from nuclear power plants waste. And you know that uranium-235 is less than 1% found in nature. We make mutations of uranium. We get uranium-239, and we receive a nuclear fuel, which is the basis for our future energy model. Also, we use liquid lead, which needs a certain temperature for its melting. And we also deal with aspects related to extraction of rare earth elements. And also our new energy model includes support for the regime of non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. Another very important aspect is connected to our processing module, where we use uranium, then we extract the uranium which has given its potential, and then we put a new amount of uranium in this module. And the decision has been made to increase the generation up to 25%, to build 32 reactors. I have doubts as a nuclear power industry expert because it needs a huge investment and reorganizing industries. Yes, we need to work with ecology issues, but we must make it reasonably. Thank you. Thank you very much to all of our participants and all those who listened to our discussions. And climate agenda and energy security are gaining more and more reasonable contours. And countries are analyzing, first of all, the aspects of providing clean, green energy in a very equitable sense, because full renouncement of fossil fuels is impossible, and it was our small victory at this previous COP. And at this COP, we see also movements towards consolidating the position as regards global climate agenda. It includes Article 6 of Paris Agreement. That's why, dear colleagues, I suggest we finish for now. We had a great session today. Had a wonderful day, everyone.
Hello there. Could you please turn on your video and microphone for checking?
Dear General Lisa, do you hear us? Could you please switch on your microphone and video so we could proceed with the test?
والله ضيفه مش دي خالد والله ضيفه ما دخلش
All right, thank you very much. That seems to be in working condition.
Yes, you hear me? Liana.
Yes, everything in working condition. All good.
Yes, our technical chief says everything is good.
Yes, Liana.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, our technical team says everything is good.
The sound is good?
Yeah.
Yes, you hear me. You hear you now. Okay. At what time to start, Liana? In Cairo, local time?
Well, we are starting 10:30 local time, but I think the beginning will be 5 minutes later, so all the attendees will gather up.
So 10 means what time in Egypt time?
I guess 10:35, 10:40.
10:40. 10:40. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Great. So I'll message you when we will start.
Okay. Please, before starting from 50 minutes, to contact with me. Okay?
Okay. Okay, noted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.